There is a specific kind of pain that nobody really talks about. It is not the pain of losing something. It is not the pain of failing at something. It is the pain of realizing that someone you trusted, someone you laughed with, someone you helped, someone you would have done anything for, was never really on your side. And the worst part is not what they did. The worst part is that you looked back and saw every single sign that was always there. And you missed all of them. But rest assured, because two of the most studied minds in history spent their entire lives trying to make sure that never happened to the people who listened to them. The famous Machiavelli and Sun Tzu, with 500 years apart, two completely different worlds, and they both arrived at the exact same warning. Every betrayal follows a pattern. And once you know the pattern, you will never be caught off guard again. Let me show you what they found. Sun Tzu spent decades commanding armies, and he knew that the most dangerous threat to any general was never the enemy outside the camp. It was the one inside it. He paid close attention to the people around him, not what they said, what they did when they thought nobody was watching, and he noticed something that most people still miss today. The person who is planning against you rarely looks like a threat. They are almost always the one who is the most agreeable to your face, the one who never challenges you directly, the one who seems completely harmless, because they are not trying to fight you. They are waiting for the right moment to move. And while they wait, they watch, they gather information, and they quietly build their position. Sun Tzu called this the nature of the spy inside the camp. The most dangerous one is the one who blends in perfectly. Now Machiavelli saw the same thing from a completely different angle. He studied the courts of Italy. He watched kings get overthrown, alliances collapse, and powerful men get destroyed, not by armies, but by the people sitting next to them at dinner. And he wrote something that most people find uncomfortable. He said, "A man who has done you a great favor is more likely to betray you than a man who owes you nothing." Read that again slowly, because it goes against everything we feel is true. The person who has helped you, who has given you something, who has done you a kindness, sometimes builds a quiet resentment alongside it, because every time they see you, they are reminded of what they gave. And if they feel like they never got enough back, that resentment grows silently until one day it becomes something else entirely. And you never saw it coming because you were focused on their past kindness, not their present feelings. Now here is where both of them agree. Here is the pattern they both identified across 2,500 years of combined observation. The first sign is that they know more about your situation than they should. You never fully explain things to them, but somehow they have details. Somehow they know things. That information came from somewhere. And the only way it got to them is if they were paying a specific kind of attention to you, the kind of attention that is not about friendship. The second sign is that they are always slightly too encouraging. Every idea you have is great. Every plan you make is perfect. They never push back. They never challenge you, because challenging you would mean caring about your actual outcome. Excessive agreement almost always means someone is managing you, not supporting you. The third sign is that they disappear when it costs them something. The real test of anyone around you is not how they behave when things are easy. It is what they do. The moment being close to you becomes inconvenient or risky. The people who take one step back in those moments are showing you exactly who they are. The fourth sign is that they ask questions that only matter if they are planning a move. Not questions about how you are doing. Specific questions about your resources, your relationships, your plans, your vulnerabilities. Questions that only matter to someone who is mapping you. Now here's what you actually do with this. You do not become paranoid. You do not cut everyone off. You do not start treating people like suspects. What you do is start paying a different kind of attention. You stop listening only to what people say, and you start watching what they do over time. You notice who shows up when it costs them something. You notice who asks questions that go slightly deeper than friendship requires. You notice who is always perfectly agreeable. And you ask yourself why someone who cares about you never once disagrees with you. And then you do what both Machiavelli and Sun Tzu recommend above everything else. You control what people can see, not out of deception, out of wisdom. You share less about your real plans, your real resources, your real vulnerabilities, until someone has proven over time, with action, not words, that they are actually on your side. Because both of these men understood the same truth. You cannot control whether someone chooses to betray you, but you can control how much damage they can do when they do. Here is your challenge for this week. Think of someone in your life right now who you feel slightly uncertain about, not someone you already know is against you, someone you just have a quiet feeling about that you have been dismissing. Run them through the 4 signs. How much do they know about your situation that you never directly told them? How often do they challenge you versus just agreeing? Did they ever step back when being around you cost them something? And what kind of questions do they ask you? You do not have to do anything with what you find. Not yet, just see clearly, because Machiavelli said it best. The first step to protecting yourself is simply being willing to see the truth about the people around you, even when that truth is uncomfortable. Next week we are going into something that hits even closer to home. What to do when you realize there is someone around you who is quietly hoping you fail, and how to use that against them without ever letting them know you figured it out. You do not want to miss that one.